Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to our random review. Today's random review is from 1962, and it's Sidney Hayer's Night of the Eagle, starring Peter Wyngarde, Janet Blair, Margaret Johnson, and a host of familiar faces. This is imprint number 261, which is part of their October releases. It's Night of the Eagle, but in the US, for some reason it was known as Burn Witch Burn, but I think that's probably because AIP took it over, and Burn Witch Burn is a little bit more sensational than Night of the Eagle. Sidney Hayer's probably did more work in TV, but he did make Circus of Horrors, starring Anton Diffrin, which I have done a random review of a few years ago, which is a lovely little film. But for those of us of a certain age, you might be, if you watched a lot of TV shows in the 70s or 80s or even in the late 60s, you might recognise some of the TV shows that Sidney Hayer's directed. So he did The Avengers, The Persuaders, The New Avengers, The Professionals, The Famous Five. If your show had "the" at the start of it, chances are Sidney Hayers would direct a few episodes. He did Battlestar Galactica 1980, The Fall Guy, Magnum PI, Remington Steele, the underrated Remington Steele, Manimal, The Master with Lee Van Cleef, T.J. Hooker, the William Shatner gritty cop show, Airwolf, Hunter, Knight Rider. I'm surprised he didn't do Street Wolf as well. The A-Team, Scarecrow and Mrs. King, Baywatch, Space Precinct, and then CI5, The New Professionals. So again, if you watch lots of TV shows in the 80s, chances are Sidney Hayer's directed a few episodes of them. But Night of the Eagle is a wonderful film, not to be confused with Night of the Demon, even though you can pretty much tell the Jacques Tourneur films are probably an influence on this. This is an interesting film, despite starring Klytus himself, Peter Wyngarde, who wouldn't go to the planet Mongo for another 18 years, as a posh English college professor or private school professor who has an American wife who doesn't really get on with the stiff upper lip couples of other professors and their wives. But everything seems to be going wonderfully well for Peter Wyngarde, who is, outside of David Farrar, kind of one of the coolest men of the 60s in Britain, with one of the great voices, unbelievably posh, but also the epitome of cool. And he starts finding objects in his wife's belongings, for example a little box with a dead spider in it, that may suggest that his wife has all these little charms and superstitions and things that are protecting Peter Wyngarde, and she would do anything to protect him from unseen forces that may want to wish him harm, because he's kind of rocketed up the levels of teaching, and he may be in line for a promotion, much to the annoyance of the other couples. This is unusual in the sense it's a film that's really driven by the women. There's an element, not necessarily of Stepford Wives, but again it's a film that is more, it's driven by the women, and the women are the ones with all the power. So Wingard has made his way up the ladder. He has had the help of a woman, but again, his wife wants to see him with all the success. She doesn't really want success herself, but she wants her husband to have all the success. But when Peter Wingard, who strangely enough teaches about superstition and how it doesn't exist and how he doesn't believe in it, oh the irony, once he burns all the trinkets, strange things start to happen. This is very much a film about outsiders and being an outsider. It's a film about class, because obviously the other couples of the other teachers' wives, especially the wonderful Kathleen Byron. She doesn't taunt anybody with lipstick in this film, thank goodness, because that would be too much. They look down on Wingard's American wife. She doesn't fit in, which is obviously she's an outsider. But Wingard has his own kind of biases, because one of the students he teaches is an American who has an attitude, as all Americans do, and it's just not cricket. So strangely enough, Wingard has kind of based all the exams and questions in the exams on lectures that this American hasn't actually attended, and the American's obviously not pleased. He's also not pleased that Wingard seems to have a soft spot for his girlfriend, who is the kind of classic English Rose, if you will. So there's tension between Wingard and this American student, which again is about outsiders and not liking outsiders. Strangely enough, England can be quite, and Britain in general can be quite xenophobic, which of course was one of the major reasons for Brexit, really, but let's not get into politics. It's shot in wonderful, crisp black and white, and the Blu-ray does really stand out. The eagle in the title, there's lots of wonderful stone eagles that we get, those kind of haunting, as in Robert Wise's The Haunting, made in the same year or released in the same year, those kind of angles of the stone gargoyle eagles that are always kind of looking over, or even overlooking the action. Wingard, who goes from this suave character who obviously thinks he's hot butter, to somebody who is questioning his beliefs, questioning what's going on, and may feel that perhaps there is something to all this witchcraftery, but who's actually causing this change in his luck, if you will. The girlfriend of the American accuses Wingard of basically sexually assaulting her or raping her, even though obviously the R word isn't used. This is 1962 after all. Much to his disgust, and then the American student threatens him with a gun, which is all very un-English. Fencing, please, not pulling guns in each other. And the tension is ramped up as things go from bad to worse. Obviously, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but the music's wonderful, the cinematography, as I say, is wonderful, and the title character is quite wonderful as well. Again, the use of the stone eagles is quite fantastic. So it's a very posh film. Everybody does talk in proper English, shall we say. But again, as I said, it's more about the the women behind the men being the strongest. The other male teachers or male professors are fairly weak and fey and kind of stumbling, bumbling characters, and it's people like Kathleen Byron who have kind of all the strength of character. So it's an interesting film as far as kind of swapping around who's the victim and who's got the power. And it's just to see Peter Wyngarde, who didn't actually kind of star in so many films. I think he was more, a supporting actor. And obviously Klytus in Flash Gordon is one of the great henchmen or lieutenants in cinema history. Obviously Wyngarde would go on to do more TV with Department S and Jason King, where he would show off even more of his suave and cool and 60s fashions. But this is a really good one to actually see him in a leading role, even though again he's almost just being blown in the direction of what woman is protecting him or what woman's attacking him. It is a fantastic release by Imprint as well. It's a 2K scan of the US version of the film, Burn Witch Burn. I'm not sure, I don't think the running time's any different, I think it was just different titles. A commentary by screenwriter Richard Matheson, who is obviously famous as being an author. I Am Legend, for example. There's another commentary by Flipside founders Vic Pratt and William Fowler from 2023. There's a commentary by film historian Scott Harrison from 2023. There's a wonderful interview with Peter Wyngarde, who only, I think, died in the last couple of years, which is fantastic with anecdotes. And he does crowbar anecdotes about Flash Gordon and the way he would hound Mike Hodges to ask him. I think Klytus should take off his mask at one point so everybody can see my face. And he also talks about the sequel to Flash Gordon, which was supposed to be in an underwater realm, but sadly that never happened because obviously Flash Gordon was just too gritty and too tough of a film for people to handle, because again it did show the truth of a fascist society in the planet Mongo and the struggle to break free from that, so maybe it was just too gritty to do the sequel. The Devil in Music, which is another excellent interview with author David Huckvale from 2023, and he tinkles with his ivories again as he does, talking about the music in the film. Fritz Lieber's Conjure Wife, which is the video essay by film scholar Rachel Knightley from 2023, which is about the original story called Conjure Wife, strangely enough, written by Fritz Lieber. And I do believe The Evil Eye of Sidney Hayers, which is a video essay by film historian Howard S. Berger from 2023, who always does good work. And there's the opening title sequence from the UK version of the film, Night of the Eagle, and there's trailers for both versions of the film, Night of the Eagle and Burn Witch Burn. Just a tremendous little film. It's perhaps not to the level of Night of the Demon, or Curse of the Demon as it was called in the US, but this is still a wonderful little film. And again, the print on it is fantastic, and if you're a Peter Wyngarde fan, it's just great to see him in a leading role, if you like, apart from just being a kind of guest star and doing TV work. So thanks very much for watching this random review of Night of the Eagle. Please let me know what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.